All right, you know what this is. It's the Valley's most in-depth weather forecast video, the Monday evening edition, here on the 13th day of May 2019, a day that resembled March rather than May today. It was, honestly, it's pretty lousy out there today. It was one of those days where our high and low occurred at weird times of the day. The high today, 53 at 1:43 a.m. We spent the afternoon in the 40s. Now, of course, this is way below the average. Our average high is in the upper 60s at this time of the year, and the record high, doesn't this sound nice, 88 back in 1936. We picked up a few hundredths of an inch worth of rain at the airport earlier on today, but this was not the coldest high temperature on record for today's date, even though it was pretty close. Back in 1973, it was colder than today, 49, the best we could do on May 13th, 1973. So we've done a little worse on May 13th before, but not by much. Again, we actually spent most of the afternoon kind of near that 48, 49, 50 degree mark. All right, I went through the record books with a fine-tooth comb today, and this is kind of a theme I've been hitting on recent editions of Weather for Weather Geeks. The precipitation amounts so far in 2019 and into the spring season are nothing really crazy high. I think we're in like 18th place right now on the list of wettest January 1st to May 13th. It's not the amounts, it's the frequency that we've seen precipitation so far this year. It's been a pretty wet start to the year in terms of number of days in which we've seen measurable precipitation. I found two stretches of 4 days, 4 consecutive days, in which we had no measurable precipitation. From February 27th to March 2nd and March 17th to March 20th, we have not had 5 consecutive dry days so far this year. And our forecast this week does not include a streak of 5 consecutive dry days. Wouldn't that be nice? We're just dying for a long stretch of dry weather so golf courses can dry out, so people's yards can dry out. And believe it or not, while this is a pretty significant statistic, the same period, January 1st to May 13th, had more precipitation days last year and in 2017. We're actually behind those 2 years. We've had 3 consecutive years in which we've had frequent precipitation events during the first half of the year, and that kind of coincides with what we would expect in a changing climate, an increase in the precipitation totals and the frequency of precipitation, a hallmark of climate change, and we've seen that in the data in recent years. I've shown you some graphs before on this video and even on TV showing the increase in precipitation totals across our region over the last several years, and we're not alone on that. A lot of places have seen more precipitation since the turn of the century especially, but even dating back to the 90s. Than in recorded history. All right, today, again, the light rain that we had earlier on has pretty much faded away, nothing more than a sprinkle for this evening, and into the overnight, a blanket of clouds for the night tonight. We've got this upper level low still spinning across New York and Pennsylvania, and you can kind of see the counterclockwise spin around that. Otherwise, the playing field's pretty quiet this evening as far as severe weather goes. For a mid-May evening, this isn't bad at all. It's beautiful in the deep south. A couple of feisty storms in Texas. There's been a few feisty storms in parts of Florida and eastern North Carolina today, but really this is a pretty quiet weather map for this time of the year. All right, let's walk through the next few days. Now, tomorrow is not going to be a great day, but it's going to be better than today. I think it'll be cloudy in the morning. It'll look like today did in the morning. Could even be a shower or two through about midday, but this upper low is finally going to start to fill in and fade away as we go into the second half of the day. I think that will allow for the sky to brighten later in the day. It should be a nice sunset for Tuesday evening. We'll be on a sunset alert with clouds fading away and pushing east. The setting sun in the western sky may throw some colors up on those departing clouds and make for a nice sunset for Tuesday evening, and we'll have a partly cloudy, benign night for your Tuesday night. All right, so Wednesday we have a weak cold front heading our way. I think we're dry in the morning. Let's get into the afternoon. I can't rule out a sprinkle or a shower, but I think the bulk of the wet weather is after dark Wednesday evening. A few rounds of showers seem pretty likely at that stage of the game. No thunder expected with this. This is a pretty weak front. And behind that front, we're kind of in between systems on Thursday. Pretty nice seasonable day Thursday, upper 60s, maybe pushing 70 with a mix of sun and clouds. This next front with showers out towards Wisconsin Thursday will head our way Friday and bring us a chance for showers on Friday. But it's another weak front, and the timing on it's pretty good. I think it'll be out of here in time for the upcoming weekend. I mentioned how wet the golf courses are. Yeah, I've played golf several times already this year, and I haven't played on a dry course yet. Tuesday, if you are itching to hit the links, bundle up. It's not going to be quite as chilly as today, but still cooler than average, certainly. No better than the mid-50s. Best chance for a shower in the morning, but of course the ground's still pretty wet, and a lack of sunshine for a good chunk of the day, and not much in the way of a breeze will keep things a little on the damp side. All right, let's talk about some good news. This is our current pattern, upper low here, a little bit of ridging out west. This is going to kind of reverse itself, I think, as we head into, let me back up to that previous graphic. I think it's going to kind of reverse itself as we go through time here, and the west is going to turn kind of unseasonably stormy. You know, this is the time of the year that we oftentimes see lots of dry weather and ridging out west, but you're going to get this big trough out west, pumping up a ridge in the east. This is a classic setup for severe weather late this week and this weekend out in the Plain States. Could be quite an outbreak for several days, from Texas up through kind of the heart of Tornado Alley. Nothing unusual for mid-May, that's for sure. But that's a pretty severe weather-looking map to me. But it'll pay us dividends in that a ridge will pump up over the east and allow us to warm up into the 70s, and I've even got a couple of 80s in my 7-day forecast, which, if this graphic wants to advance, here's the 6 to 10-day outlook from the Climate Prediction Center, showing generally what I just talked about, turning cold and stormy out west, paying dividends east of the Mississippi, and here's the numbers I have in that 7-day forecast for highs. 77 Saturday, 82 on Sunday. Now, it's possible there's some model differences on the timing of this warm-up when the warmest air arrives. If the GFS were to be correct, this number's probably too low on Saturday. We might get into the 80s already on Saturday. European's quite a bit cooler. I've got a middle-of-the-road approach here, but no matter which way you slice it, we'll be above average both weekend days this weekend. So some things to look forward to there. What about precipitation? Hey, everybody's asking, yeah, great, it's going to warm up, but is it ever going to dry out? In the 6 to 10-day period, which takes us from this weekend through the first half of next week, there's going to be a few chances for rain mixed in there, but I don't think it's a lot. Again, we're not expecting a terrible amount of rain during this period. Most of it's going to be out west. But if you notice, when we look at the 8 to 14-day outlook, odds start shifting more in the favor of dry weather for a lot of the southeast up into the Ohio Valley. So it's May. It's going to rain at times. But I'm expecting the second half of May to see fewer precipitation days than the first half of May. The number of days in which we have measurable precipitation, second half of May, should be fewer in number than the first half of May, which has been pretty waterlogged so far. Even though, again, amounts have not been high, it's rained almost every day. We had 3 consecutive dry days last week on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Every other day, we've had measurable precipitation so far in May, and that continued a trend that, really kicked in at the start of the year. All right, that's it for tonight's weather for Weather Geeks. Thank you for watching. I'll see you back here for a fresh edition of this video Tuesday evening.